Welcome to another episode of Accounting Insiders. I am Gary Dehart, and I am joined today by Dr. Paris Love of the, Productivity Institute?
Paris Love Productivity Institute.
I was close. Paris Love Productivity Institute. So Paris and I go way back to last year. Yeah, we were in the, was it cohort 16, I think it was, with the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses course, which is a phenomenal course. If you ever have the opportunity to be a part of that, jump in. It's a lot of work, but it's fantastic. You meet a lot of great people. You do a lot of work on your business to get your business set to grow, set to sell, set to whatever it is your goal is. And speaking of goals, Paris, Dr. Paris, tell us in a nutshell, what is it that you do?
So and thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it. So we help people do the things that they always talk about, but never get around to doing. And so you're probably like, well, how do you do that? I'm so glad you asked. So we come in and we work with overextended professionals and helping them overcome those barriers that are keeping them disorganized, dissatisfied, and discontent. And so there's several ways that we do that. Our sweet spot is working with physical clutter, but we know that the physical clutter has nothing to do with the main issue. So we peel back those layers to figure out what the main issue is. And so a lot of times we are doing a deep dive into the emotional and mental aspect of clutter. And as one of my clients told me once, she said, I didn't know I had to reparent myself.
Well, that's actually a great way to look at it, though. That really is what it is, right? I mean, you're having to kind of go back to the early childhood days and break all those horrible bad habits that we've all developed, right? So is it physical clutter at the office, physical clutter at home, or physical clutter just wherever you've got problems?
Wherever you get problems, because what I find is a lot of clients say, I need you to come help me in my office because I'm piling paper up. I can't find what I need. I'm always late. And then when I get there, they're like, well, okay, after you do this, I need you to come to the house, or
you
vice versa.
Like a garage, right?
And it's vice versa too. Someone may call me for their home, and then they're like, "Can you come to my office too?"
You're right.
And I always tell people, when you have clutter, it just calls to his friends, "Come visit me, come hang out with me," and so it spills over in other areas of our lives.
Absolutely. And it does. And it kind of compounds on itself. It's like, oh, here's that junk drawer, right? Oh, I can just put it in there. Nobody would see it.
You allow one junk drawer, but has to be organized.
An organized junk
drawer.
That's really funny. So I sent you about 10 questions, and we're just kind of go through these. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm checking on the question to make sure I don't miss anything. But you kind of said it, but question number 2 I had down here was, how does it help people? So and maybe by that, we can broaden on that to when you get to a client and they have this clutter problem, which most of us do, I imagine at some level. What's the expected outcome for them? Like, what's their win?
So when a client calls me, I want to really get to what their needs are and what's really causing them the most pain. Like, what's that pain point? And so once we start to do a deep dive, we're realizing that, because a lot of people say, well, I don't have time. Well, you may not have systems in place, or the system that you're not using it effectively. You have habits, like from childhood, we all have these old habits. And as you become an adult, a lot of times we need to change some of those habits and create new habits, but we get so used to, this is how it always is. This is just what I do. And it's really changing those habits so that they can be more productive, more efficient throughout their day. You know, I always say you can get 28 hours in a 24-hour period. People are like, well, how do you do that? Well, it's 168 hours in a week. How are you utilizing that? And a lot of times it's a lot of time wasters. Social media, those phone calls that like, oh, here comes cousin Joe calling again. I got to stay on the phone, for 2 hours. Like, cousin Joe, no, you got an issue. I got 15 minutes. Let's wrap it up.
Clock's going, timer's on. And also we were talking about it kind of in the green room, so to speak. kind of the inbox, right? The email inbox, not the physical inbox, but the email inbox that we don't get rid of, that we don't delete. And then we end up going back 7 times looking at the same email. And even on number 7, we're like, I'll deal with that tomorrow. I just got to deal with it, right? Got to do something with it. And so that's my commitment now. I told you I had a conversation on Monday and a guy mentioned that. I'm like, oh, I have got to do that because mine's a mess. So
yeah. So here's a trick for that. So in my inbox, I know.
Write this down.
Yeah, write this down. So in my inbox, so I'm looking at my Gmail. And so I have a business account and I have a Gmail. So my business kind of bounces to my Gmail. And the reason why I do that, because of my name, I always get spammed. It's the craziest thing. And like, we can communicate and it's like, okay, this is Gary. Then one day it's like, oh, you're spam. And my business email is so great that I don't really get spam. So I have to filter it out. So I look at my email. First thing I do, and here's another thing. A lot of times we're looking at email multiple times a day. How about when you walk into the office, lunchtime, end the day?
I like it. Yeah.
And when you look at your email, like do a quick scan and you go delete, 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 delete. Because there's a lot of things that we get a lot of spam anyway. Like, okay, delete, 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 delete. So say you have 100 emails that you just received, maybe get it down to 50. And then look, okay, is this something that I can handle or is it something that I can delegate? So you go, oh, okay, half of these I can delegate. You send those over to your assistant, whoever is going to handle that. Then you have 25 and you go through and you go, and you can see the subject line. So like, okay, I can take care of this. So maybe 5 of them you can take care of. So you still have a handful and you go, okay, when am I, and be really honest, when will I be able to take care of this? Can I do it now? Can I just take 15, 30 minutes and do it now? Or do I need to do this maybe at the end of the week? Because in our mind, we're like, I don't really have the time right now to do it. And sometimes you open up an email, you're like, well, that was a really quick answer, or, oh, I didn't need to answer that. They're just saying, thank you for meeting with me. You know, we can follow up at a later date. Okay, I don't really need to respond to that. If I do, you know, thank you, love meeting you, send it on. But a lot of times we look at it and we're like, oh my goodness, this is gonna, I have to write a 10-page paper. No, you don't. And then you will have maybe, I'm just gonna guess, 3 to 5 emails that need some really thought to it. So an example is, we have an entrepreneurial center here, and I sent them an email and they sent it to like 3 people. So I replied, they came back, it was 3 paragraphs long. And I thought, okay, I got to talk to Gary. How soon can I do this? And I pulled it up so I wouldn't forget. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just do it now, because if not, I'm going to go on to something else. It took all of 10 minutes. And mine was a longer email as well, but I sent it out. So now it's in their hands. I don't have to worry about it. But if I would have put it to later, it'd be next week. And I go, did they reply to me? I don't know. Did I reply to them? I don't know.
Right. And then it gets in, like we were talking about before, I had some things on from Thursday, Friday. I was out kind of Friday afternoon through the weekend. And then we had this 2 days of webinars. So I've really, Monday, I had to kind of catch up a little bit, but that was, you know, still a little bit behind. So this morning I kind of did that. I was like, got to clear it, got to get caught up. And part of it too, I think is what you just touched on. Like for me, let's say it has ads attached to it, or if we're put something like this thing in particular that I had to work on was putting something behind a registration wall. And so I know that's going to take me probably 30 minutes to get that all done and to test it to make sure it works. And so, you know, you see it, you're like, I just don't want to spend 30 minutes doing that, right? There's so many other things I'd rather do, but sometimes you got to sit down and just do it, or better yet, delegate it, like you said.
And set a timer. So if you think it's going to be 30 minutes, I would add a little fluff to that and just say 45 minutes.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, for the next 30 minutes, next hour, make it a game. Let me see how many emails I can go through and answer Either I'm going to take care of it or I'm going to delegate it to somebody else. And remember, when you delegate it to somebody else, give them a time frame, because they're doing the same thing. They're like, I think I can answer this later. And in your mind, you're thinking, well, I delegated it to you so you could do it right now.
Right.
So you have to give them direction as well.
I think that's a really good point. There's a lot of times for us as well, when we actually kind of jumped into actually the whole podcasting thing. We filmed a bunch of stuff back in June at an event, and then it just kind of sat there. And kind of in hindsight, we didn't really tell the guy that was doing the film work, who was doing the initial editing. We didn't really give him a deadline. And so, shame on us. It's our fault. Can't blame him. He's like, hey, if you don't need it now, then I'll go do something else that is a higher priority for somebody, right? So can't blame that. So it's always learning, right? So so you already said that. So actually, the third question I had on here is how you actually work. Are you you had mentioned going to client site? Is that the only way you work, or do you work like this too?
I do work like this, but you would be surprised. A lot of people don't work virtual. They're like, I need you here. I need you right next to me, because I need to be told what to do. And no, no shade on anybody, but a lot of times we can get in our head and we go, is this really important? And something's going to capture our attention and draw us somewhere else. So when I'm there, I'm keeping you laser focused.
Right.
Because my clients, they start to walk right. Where you going? Where you going? I'm like, I was going to the bathroom. Well, don't be long.
Yeah, it's not bathroom time. Yeah, that was not on the agenda. There's no bathroom time.
It's not.
Right.
That's why they call me the drill sergeant.
Exactly. Right. So, but that accountability is what that is. So that's what you're providing. And it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to tell you, you know what, I got to go to the bathroom when we're like this versus, we're in the middle of working. And that's my son. I do that with him all the time. He's like, no, I'll just I'm like, nope, focus.
Right now.
He's working on his Eagle for Scouts, and it's just like, oh my gosh, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, it's so much easier to do it now than to put it off for later, because we tell a story in our mind. I don't have time right now. It's going to take me forever. I'm just going to, in those habits of, I'll put it here and come back later. And we know that later never comes.
Right.
So I always challenge people, when you look at a calendar, it's January through December, Sunday through Saturday, and depending on the month, it has, 28, 30, 31 days. On your calendar, anywhere, does it say someday, one day? And I always say, I'll wait. Maybe you'll find it on your calendar.
Right.
Like, well, no, because it doesn't exist.
Right. I like that. Actually, someday doesn't exist, right? Because we're going to keep kicking it down the road. That's right. So ultimately, what are people looking for when they hire Dr. Paris Love?
To be more productive, to find what they need within a few seconds, because a lot of times we lose things. It's that organized chaos. I know exactly where it is, but how long is it taking you to find it?
Right.
And really get back some of that time, because a lot of times I mentioned time wasters as social media, but time wasters can be searching for, I know, like I love sticky notes, and I would have a sticky note. So so if I get more than 5 sticky notes, I'm like, okay, I got to take action on it. Because if not, I have a zillion. I'll stick notes all over the place.
Right.
But we put some on a sticky note, then we put a paper on it, or it gets stuck to something else. And we're like, where's that sticky? I know it's here. And 30 minutes have passed. And so statistically, when we are working on something and we go to do something else, it takes 23 minutes for our brain to catch back up. So if you're working on something, you're like, squirrel, and you go and do something else, then your brain goes, now what was I doing? So it's like 23 minutes. It's almost a half hour has wasted because your brain has to catch back up.
Yeah. So with that, the biggest distraction for me outside of my bird feeder, which is right out here, the biggest distraction for me is Teams. We use Teams. And I mean, it's just always some message flying somewhere. How do you handle that?
So Gary, so that would be on you. So you have to delegate that and to say, okay, these are hair on fire. I need you right now. This is, it's not a hair on fire. I could probably wait till the end of the day. And then you have the third category. Yeah, this is really not an emergency. We could, if we wait till the end of the week, we're good.
Yeah.
So it's like what we tell our children, like, and because we're, during the pandemic, we were on Zoom, and I always call everyone little Johnny. Little Johnny's like, Mom, can I get something to eat? That's not an emergency, baby.
Exactly.
Now, if the house is on fire, you need to tell me.
Right.
So the same thing when we have teams, you had to communicate to them what is an emergency, what is priority, and what is, I don't really need you right now. This can wait to the end of the day or the next day, so that they have perimeters and guidelines.
Yeah, I like that. To set some boundaries and sticking with little Johnny, right? We taught little Johnny, you can't just come interrupt us in the middle of everything, right? So it's actually a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, great. I can't remember if this is one of the questions, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. And again, I'm looking here, just trying to make sure. So when you go on site or do Zoom, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer on site or you prefer Zoom?
I like going on site.
Yeah.
I love it because I can see
Yeah.
it, I can touch it, and then
Right.
I get to see the entire picture. So a lot of my clients have teams, and so I had to share this story really quick. So I have a client, he brought me in because he's like, we're not being productive. I don't really know what, my staff's doing. And so I was like, let me come in. So I traveled to him and I just sat back and I kind of watched what the team was doing. They're showing up late. They look like they're busy, but they're not being productive at all, because it's different between being busy and productive.
Oh yeah.
And so I came in and I'm like, okay, let's get some guidelines. Let's get some boundaries. And once we establish that, they're like, oh, okay. Because it's, I'm 10 minutes late today became almost 90 minutes late. He actually
Wow.
hired a new person. They were 90 minutes late. I said, oh, when they come in, I would tell them, thank you, no, thank you.
Here's that revolving door. Just follow it right back around. Right back in.
Exactly. But if you allow that, then of course, the next time they come in, they're late, they're gonna be like, well, that's okay because I'm always late.
Yeah.
This is what I've always do. This is just
is
how it
being
is.
This is me being on time, right? 90 minutes late.
Exactly.
Yeah, not a good thing. Okay.
So I like being in person.
Yeah, I agree. And then what about, are you talking about technology as well? I mean, is that part of what you work with people on? Kind of the tools that they can be more productive?
That's a good question. So I look at their systems and their processes, anything that has to do with like technology, digital world, I can do, but that doesn't get me up in the morning. So I actually have someone on my team that's a remote COO who knows all the systems, all the apps. So they, like I said, you know what, it might be good to use, because you have teams, it might be good to use Asana. You're like, oh, okay, I researched it, I like Asana. And then they go and take it and set you up and communicate that way.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
I like the physical clutter, and I like to uncover those pieces of the brain that goes, well, I like to pile things up. I just like to put things right here. But why do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, because somebody's slapping my hand. That's why I can't, that's why I have to keep my background on. You can't see what's behind me. You would judge me negatively.
I never judge. I never judge. That's a good point. I know that wasn't part of our question, but a lot of times clients don't reach out because they feel that they're going to be judged. And I tell people there's no judgment, no judgment. And when I come in, I get to work, because I've had clients go, but you're not going to judge me. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like I want to get to work and get you from point A to point B.
Right. I'm here to help, not to shame, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So what do you think? What are the top 3 reasons people are not as productive as they should be? Not causes like Teams or texting. What's kind of the biggest top 3 reasons you think?
I only get 3, huh? Yeah. Okay. Lack of goals.
For you, you can go to 4, maybe 5.
I do 3.
All right.
I have OCD, so 3 is my number. So I always got to go to 3. So if you say 4, then I got to go to 6. No,
Yeah.
go to 3. So lack of goals. Sometimes we don't have clear and defined goals. We don't prioritize. We're not sure what's more important, what's urgent. So we have to prioritize. And
Mhm.
number three, distractions. Distractions are huge, whether it's squirrel, I like doing that squirrel, or,
Mhm.
it's the phone ringing, it's, the even, and remember when we were students, just the shuffling of the paper, people like, I gotta study. And so we
Right.
become adults and we think it's okay. There's a little music in the background. There's a little, noise. It's not. Like some of us have to be complete silent. And there are those who they like the chatter, but you have to know like your strong suit, because not everybody can work with a lot of noise going on. And we think that we're productive, but we're really not. Because while we're working, like, oh, I'm typing, and you listen to the music. And if you look up, you go, oh, I just typed the lyrics of the words.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep. Now I heard this the other day and I'm going to get it wrong and I can't remember who said it, else I'd have to reach back out to them. They told me, or actually they were telling my wife, so I was kind of half listening, that like if you're in like a crowded area, let's say, and let's say you're in a restaurant, it's kind of loud, and like the person next to you or near you has a louder voice, they said if you plug one ear, it knocks out conversational level. And if you plug the other ear, it knocks out kind of the background level. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't.
It,
That kind of makes sense. I'm going to try that.
yeah, I'm gonna have to ask my wife because I can't remember where we were or who said it, but had totally forgotten about it till just now. So, but I do want to test it out, right? And go, oh yeah, not that I'm not listening, but
Yeah, that makes sense. Because a lot of people, if they can only hear out of one ear, or like one of their ears, they don't hear as well. And it's interesting because something could be going on this side, and for you it's distracting, and they just
right.
go on until you say something, they go, oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear out of this ear. You're like,
Right.
oh, okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, all right. So is there like well, let's go to bad habits. All right. So my bad habits that you just talked about. So lack of goals, no priority, and distractions. How do I get out of those bad habits and better prioritize myself or set goals or eliminate those distractions?
So everyone's work week normally starts on a Monday. So you can do this on Sunday or early Monday morning, but really sit down, be laser focused, and be very honest with yourself and go, this is what I have for the week.
Mm-hmm.
These are the items that are important. So prioritize it. Like number one would be, I need to do this today. Number two, we can wait till Wednesday. Number three, yeah, we can wait till Friday, maybe next week, but prioritize it. Set goals. Okay, this week, my goal is to reach out to X amount of people. This week, my goal is to do the 10 proposals that's been sitting in my inbox. So like have clear and concise goals and then prioritize those goals. Your habits are, oh, I don't want to do this, especially if you're at home. I think I can go wash the dishes. I think I can do the laundry. And we start to, think like this. Well, maybe I'm going to straighten my desk out. We always preparing. Let me straighten my desk out before I do this. So you have to be laser focused and go, this is what's important right now. For the next 30 minutes, hour, let me just focus on this. And then you get out the habit of, oh, let me go over here. I can go to my kitchen and get some coffee, but it'd be really nice to go to Starbucks.
Right.
You can just go to your kitchen and get some coffee.
Yeah. It'll save money too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so in your program, is that part of it? Am I you're coming out one time, or is this an ongoing, I don't want to call it intervention, but is it an ongoing kind of follow-ups and accountability?
So I actually have packages. And so
Okay.
my packages range from, and it depends on the clients, but one of my packages is 6 months. So month 1 and month 6, I physically come to you. Month 1, we're doing a whole organization decluttering. We're getting all our systems in place. And I'm teaching you those new habits, how to prioritize. I'm looking at how are you utilizing your time, looking at your calendar. Because when I go back home and I go, Gary, it's Wednesday at 2. What you doing? Oh, I'm at Starbucks. No. What you supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be doing your podcast. So for the next 5 months, we do weekly coaching accountability. Because it's easy when I leave, it's like, oh, okay, she's gone. I'm just going to rest right now. Well, she won't know if I do. So I'm holding you accountable every week to
Okay.
making sure those goals and objectives and systems are in place. And then month 6, I come back just to do a little tweak and make sure everything's running smoothly. And I also look at teams, like how are your work? Because a lot of times as a business owner, we are the bottleneck.
Right.
We're the ones. It's not the team, it's really us.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It can certainly sit on our desk or in our inbox. So, okay. So let's, just before we wrap up, what's your biggest client success story?
Oh, let's see. I could only get one. So this is a good one. So my title pretty much professional organizer. I might call myself accountability coach, but pretty much professional organizer. So in our industry, because we're so very unique, a lot of times, like we have a very close-knit community. And so and we think of competition as our competitors, but I look at it as collaborators. So one of the organizers came and started coaching with me. Like we didn't do any organizing, but she wanted to coach and grow a business. And we know that statistically, most businesses don't make it to 3 years. The ones that make it to 3 will make it to 5. So she was in that 3rd year. She's like, yeah, I don't really know. And I'm not getting clients and this is what's going on. So we kind of peel back the onion for that. And I'm like, okay, let's really do a deep dive in your business. Where do you want to go? Like, where are you now? Where do you want to go? Within 6 months, she had gotten on the Hoarder show.
Really?
She changed her focus to doing physical organizing to doing photo organizing, which is a very specific niche.
Yeah.
She got very clear and she grew her business 25%.
That's great. Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
I know.
All right. All right. So wrapping up, number 10 question was, well, we kind of said it here. So I'm going to circle back to it. But so asked when I kind of in the green room and when I asked you to be on the show, talked about, is the problem lack of goal setting, which you kind of talked about that already, a habit forming issue, which maybe that's priority, and then time management, which maybe that's distractions. But so and would you say any of those is more of a bigger problem than the other, or are they all three just equally bad problems?
I think they're all equal, because if you say, I can't manage my time well, it's because you haven't established goals, you haven't established good habits or routines. So it's all like they're all combined together. So once you're able to manage your time better, you have a routine, you have goals and intentions. Yeah, awesome. That's a good one.
Yeah. Any parting thoughts before we wrap it up?
I want to go back to the email. Another little trick that I do, and I have done this. I never tell someone that I haven't done and I'm not willing to do. So, again, you go, oh, I want to keep that email. I'm going to go back. I read it. I want to keep it for reference. So at the end of last year, I had about 3,000 emails. I've read them, but I was like, I want to keep that. And if you get in someone's challenge, it's like 5 days of this, oh, I want to keep this. And I was like, oh, I hate looking at the number. So I don't have the numbers, but I had like 3,000 emails. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a ninja. Am I really going to look at it again? Will I look at this as a reference? And so I just started clicking. Oh, I might need that. Let me put it in a folder. So I had specific, like Goldman Sachs, everything goes in the Goldman Sachs folder.
Yeah.
So I went through, I thought, it'll take me, half a day on a Saturday. Gary, it took me like 3 days. I'm just going to be honest. I was like, oh my God. So at the end of that, I go, we're not doing this again.
Right.
So my inbox, after I read, I cannot have more than 100 emails. When I start to look and I'm like, 103, nope, I can't, got to start deleting.
Well, that's a lot more manageable, right? To think about, how do I get rid of 3 emails versus 3,000? Now I did have, and I still don't know if this was operator error or if it was just a Microsoft glitch. My entire inbox got deleted, and I don't think it wasn't an operator error because it wasn't in like the deleted file. So it was just gone. But you know what? It was so refreshing. It was like, oh, well, if it was really important, right, it's going to come back. Whoever, if somebody really needed something, they're going to ask me for it.
Mhm.
And guess what? No problems.
Yeah. And you can get it again. With technology, you can always get it again.
So, yeah, I was happy not to get it again.
That's true. Sometimes we don't even miss it. We're like, yeah,
Right.
good.
Yeah. And so, all right. So we talked before about maybe trying to start getting either doing this kind of on a regular basis. I'd love to do this and really maybe go from a little less conversational to more, hey, let's get into tactics and strategy, or strategy and tactics of setting goals, or setting those priorities, or getting rid of those distractions. And maybe we can do that through some content, some written content, and maybe some more of these just over time. I would love to do that if that fits
Absolutely.
with
Yes,
what
and
we
you
do.
can pull the curtain back, and I can help you organize that back area.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. You know what? The trash can is how I would need to organize that. So
Oh, 13.
99% of it. Actually, one of them, you'll know this as a veteran. I've lost like AT&T. I don't know if you know this. So we have AT&T, but if you use AT&T Mobile, they have I think it's a 30% discount for veterans.
Oh. Mhm.
And I didn't know that. I've used AT&T for 20 years, and I've never gotten that
Yeah.
discount.
Yeah, I have Verizon. Yeah, they give us a discount. We have a lot of discounts.
Yeah. And so they actually were looking for, I was supposed to send them my DD, was it 214 or 15, whatever it is. I can't find it. So that's part of what's over here on the table.
Look
But
at my face.
yeah,
Now,
I don't
people,
know. I got out of the National Guard like almost 30 years ago. So
listen. That's the one thing you do not throw away. All of your military papers,
yeah,
you keep them.
keep that. Yeah,
Have a
I
file
thought I had
folder.
it.
Keep them.
It's weird. I do have I have something that's like when I transition, because I went through like the state's OCS program. And so I've got that paperwork, and where I went off of, I was only on active duty during training periods, and I have that, but I can't find that DD 214.
Well,
So
the good news is you can go back to the military and get it. They can
right,
send you one.
they don't throw anything away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So you
all
can
right.
get it. And when you get the new copy, do not throw it away. Put
Right.
it. Now that's something that you would keep. I know this is extra tip, people.
Yeah.
Social security cards, passports, birth certificate, marriage license, anything military related, insurance goes in a safe. You can do a small from Walmart fireproof safe.
Right.
If something happens, you're not worried about, oh, let me go get my shirt that I bought in 1902. You need to grab it and go.
Right. You know what? I haven't looked in our safe. It might be in there. Maybe I put it there. I just hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't thought that I would have stuck it there.
Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah, I will. I'll go look. All right. So I need to wrap up. How do people find you?
I'm on all social media platforms, but not TikTok. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Dr. Paris Love, and my website is drparislove.com.
Dr. Paris Love, and is it Dr. Paris Love?
Yes.
Dr. Right. drparislove.com. All right. We'll go get organized. I'm going to delete some emails. And actually, I've got a call coming up here in just a minute. So thank you so much for taking time. And like I said, I do hope we can do this on a more regular basis so we can just kind of spread the good word about productivity and getting rid of all that clutter. And maybe it'll help me get in the mindset of getting rid of more clutter as well. So, yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's great catching up with you.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.